Hello and welcome back today. Yes, some sad news. I thought I would be reporting today on the Wayfarers amended complaint. They had a deadline from the judge yesterday and I stayed up. I was refreshing the browser. I was like, what's going on? Maybe it's going to come in like late night. Nothing so far. Now, maybe they aren't going to amend it and they're just going to become defendants and just defend the claims. And then once that's done, they'll have enough to file something different. Or maybe they just missed the deadline and they're still planning to amend. Or maybe they are going to appeal the judge's initial decision, which they still have, I believe, 2 weeks to do that. We'll see. There's been no statement come out so far yet from the Wayfarer people or from Brian Friedman. I've scoured everywhere. I've searched everything. The only thing I could find was on one person's video, and there was no source of where that came from, and I can't find it anywhere. And I checked in with a few other creators and lawyers on the TikTok, and they also can't find a statement. So we'll see what's going on. It's kind of a bummer because we do want Justin and Wayfarer people, all of the parties involved, to fight Blake because we all know, right? But we'll see what they decide to do. But we need to keep fighting and we need to keep getting the truth out there. So, yeah. Anyway, I just got off the conference call today that Judge Liman had with Blake Lively's counsel as well as the counsel for a couple of tag employees. So we are going to talk about that, and then we're going to go over Leslie Sloan's memorandum to get her fees paid. Because, girl, I already caught her in a lie. It's cray. And then, yeah, just a few statements from me about, the video I made yesterday. I just want to address a couple of things. And then, yeah, that's it. I hope y'all are having a good day. If you're ready, I'm ready. I'm sorry I didn't come with better news, and the news I'm about to tell you isn't good either. So grab your emotional support lip gloss, girlies, because you're in frame with Mandy Magnan. Judge Liman, in a surprise move, just granted Blake Lively's motion to compel Miss Case and Miss Coslow. It was about a 50-minute phone conference, and I took some notes, so I'm just going to quickly go over exactly what happened point by point. And also, let me just say that I do like Maxwell, the tag employees counsel. He, in a way, indirectly kind of told the judge that Blake's counsel were kind of lying, like I've been saying, liar, pants on fire. But in an indirect kind of way, he talked about once how it doesn't make sense that the counsel is saying that they haven't received anything from the Wayfarer people, but yet in a footnote in one of their memos to the court, it says in the footnote that they have received documents from Wayfarer, they just haven't been able to sort through them yet. So he was like, there's that. And then also at the very end, because through the call, Lively's counsel said that, there are going to be depositions for the tag employees, and they're set in July and August. And then at the end of the call, the lawyer said, just to note on the court, it's kind of interesting that they said that they have dates set for depositions for these tag employees, but my clients have not received any notice for deposition. So he's like, I just want to put that out there, just so you know the vitality of it. It's just... it doesn't make sense. So let's just go over quickly what happened. These are just brief notes that I took, so let's see if it makes sense. Right off the start, Judge Liman did address that there was counsel there for everyone, it seemed, but he was not going to hear anybody except for Blake Lively and the tag employees counsel, which is the opposing counsel. So he only wanted to hear from Blake Lively's counsel, even though he did address that counsel for everyone and all the parties were on the call. He was interested in knowing and to clear up correspondence in what adjustments to the requests that they have made in order to not make it as burdensome. He also wanted to clear up an agreement of who's going to pay what portion of the cost for production, as well as a time period that is covered. They were kind of fighting time periods here. And Blake Lively's asking for everything, I think, from spring of 2024 to present, And the opposing team is like, we'll give you from July to December 21st when you filed your CRD complaint. That only makes sense. But he just wanted to clear all of that up. So Kristen Binder was the attorney for Blake Lively who spoke. She said that these two individuals worked for TAG and are named in Blake Lively's claim, that they are well documented in Blake Lively's claim to having communications with the Wayfair party as well as with Jed Wallace, who she called their like social media combat person, that they have been trying to work closely since March and all of their efforts failed. They have failed to comply with any of the subpoenas, and that they believe that these TAG employees have necessary information that they haven't been given from Wayfair, and they think that the documents from the TAG employees are vital to prove Blake's case. So it seems now that she still can't even prove a case, which makes me so mad, but I will talk about that at the end. Okay? And that the time frame was narrowly tailored for the case. The judge comes in and he says, I just want to hear you dispute the parties narrow to include the individuals because they were asking for only group text and not individual text, which is very burdensome if you have to give all of your text messages with every single person. So they're kind of fighting for just the group text. Blake's lawyer said that materials that they want is all communications with content creators, as well as anyone who is talking about Blake, the film, and the digital campaign against Blake, no matter who the parties are and who they were speaking to, and that they have proof that they would only talk to those people if it had to do with the digital campaign against Blake. The judge came in and he said, you're not answering my question, Lively counsel. Okay, you're not answering my question. Are you willing to narrow the scope? Most people, when they make a motion to compel, the party usually realizes, after conferring, that what they're asking for isn't the strongest fight and that they are able to narrow the scope. Lively's counsel came back and said that they only want the communications with individuals they've asked for, and there wasn't an agreement reached. The judge interrupted again and he said, let me interrupt you. I don't care if there was an agreement before, except it may reflect what it is you really need. So convince me of Rule 26 and that this is not burdensome, and argue to me without a prior agreement being reached. Lively's counsel said multiple parties have made productions. This is important. Even if Blake needs to exhaust with party and not third parties, the Wayfair parties have not handed over anything with these two people. The third party here are known to have communications. So basically what they're saying is like, we're not exhausting third party. The communications that we're asking for, we're not going to get from Wayfair because we've asked from them already, and everything that Wayfair has given us so far doesn't include these two TAG employees. Therefore, they don't believe that they're going to get it from Blake. They don't think that they're going to get it from Justin's side, so they want to go straight to the third party. Then the judge asked, well, have you deposed them? Have you set a date for deposition? And just ask them about it versus going through this, on this burdensome thing. And Blake's people said not yet. They're meeting for depositions August 14th and some are in July. They have tried to pay costs, narrow the scope, and even said that if TAG goes with the communications that these individuals don't have to. So it's really up to the Wayfair people. If they don't want these third party people to, endure cost, time, etc., they should be giving us the communications. But since they haven't, this is what we need to do. Then they want group communications from Wayfair and TAG, and not just individual requests with clients. They want everything. The judge asked about cost. Did you answer who was paying? Because originally Blake's team had offered to pay for the cost. And Blake's team said, look, if you want us to pay for the third party burdensome, we are okay with that. If you grant this motion to us, we're okay with paying. The judge said, and what is your request now? And because at first they wanted it for the 27th, which is in 3 days. And Blake's team said, no, that's fine. We understand we can't have it in 3 days, but essentially in the next 10 days, we would like it. Then he went to the opposing side. His name was Maxwell. I thought he was really good. Honestly, the way he spoke and was really trying to fight the case with the judge, but the judge honestly wasn't having it, in my opinion. Maxwell said that Blake's team is trying to say that there were some agreements made, and there weren't. We provided that there was no agreement ever reached. That counsel mentioned at the start of today that her communications were in the complaint, and that is also not true. It's contrary to what Blake's team just said. Third lie. And that TAG doesn't want to do what Blake's counsel is saying they do, or was approached to do it, to pay for the cost or give it If they give the communications, then these individuals don't have to. And there is no need to burden a third party of non-parties who are subject to costs for discovery that they have been talks about giving up. Today, it concedes that it is burdensome and broad. So basically, it's like you've already asked all of the Wayfair people for it, and you're expecting to get the same communications from the Wayfair people, but yet you're fighting and subpoenaing these two individuals. The judge stopped him and said, keep your arguments in your statement, so before the court, so don't come and just like vaguely argue a bunch of stuff. He only wants to know like exactly the points that he's asked for, which is like the time, the communications, and the narrow scope. Maxwell then said that Tag was only hired in August, and before that there was no existence of communications with It Ends With Us. So trying to like get communications from the spring doesn't make sense. Like they were only hired in August, and their contract had ended somewhere in October. And one of the people didn't even work there or hasn't worked with Tag since December 31st. And the case already closed in the fall of 2024. So there is no communications since then. It's crazy that she doesn't even work there anymore and still has to deal with all of this stuff. Then the Maxwell guy for the individuals from Tag said that they already have the materials that they're asking for. They put them in the complaint. Blake Lively is asking for communications that she already has because she has Jen Abel's phone. So any communications that Jen Abel ever had with these individuals, Blake already has those communications. And a lot of what they're asking for is on Jen Abel's phone. So for them to try to triple and quadruple productions of the same documents that will be produced by the parties involved. And then he notes the footnote. Wayfair did give them documents. So I guess Blake Lively put this in a little footnote on her motion that, you know what, Wayfair did give us some documents, but they haven't been able to look through all of the documents that have been produced yet. So he's saying that's somewhat confusing because they're out here saying that, you know, they don't have any of the documents, but then in a footnote, they said that they do have the documents. They just haven't been able to look through them yet. And then the counsel, again, for the Tag employees said that they're just a little bit confused as to why they're here and being compelled by the court and having to be in this meeting when they could have figured this out among themselves within the last 9 days that they were waiting to have this phone call. If Blake Lively's team would have kept conferring, they would have came to an agreement. So being compelled here is a little bit confusing. Then non-parties shouldn't be asked for documents much broader than the parties of the case, which is December 21st. So he was saying that because the judge had already ruled maybe on December 21st for some documents for other parties that they shouldn't have to be served all the way up into the present. Blake's team, then counsel, came back and said that the end of the time period is relevant, acknowledging that the smear campaign is still ongoing. They really think, like they really think that the smear campaign literally to this day is still ongoing. I just can't. And then the judge asked, do you have any information that Tag was working with Wayfair after December 21st, that these individuals from Tag was working with Wayfair after December 21st. Blake's counsel said that she was in communications. One of the Tag employees was in communications with Skyline. How they know that, don't know. But they were in communications with Skyline. And other than that, they don't have any way of knowing whether they were involved or not. Given the allegations that Tag was actually involved, there's no guarantee that the documents provided would, you know, disprove the claim or prove the claim, or that Wayfair would even be giving the same documents. But considering Tag was involved and these employees should be subpoenaed, then the judge took a break. He asked everyone to mute themselves and that he would be back soon. Then he did come back and he granted the motion to compel. Duh. Obviously, it's Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Of course they're going to get the motion to compel. I guess a bit of the points for avoidance of doubt will include response documents with only the Wayfair parties, but it will not be limited to response from only the Wayfair parties. So anything that has to do with Blake Lively, It Ends With Us, anyone they talk to, Jed Wallace, anything like that, they'll have to produce. And also the time period that he is saying that they need to produce it is from July 2024 to March of 2025. Even though Case hasn't worked there since December 31st. She still needs to provide documents all the way up until March of 2025 because of the continued smear campaign. My gosh, I couldn't believe that. I even wrote in capital letters, I can't believe this. And then production was made, so they have until July 7th at 5 p.m. to give them all of their stuff. And because of the burdensome of the cost will be shared between Blake Lively as well as the parties. And he said, I've considered all parties, relevant documents to the case, and questions to burdens before I ruled. I really hope at the end of this, when Blake Lively gets all of her communications and all of her subpoenas, it doesn't show this smear campaign that she thinks. It really shows that they were just defending themselves and putting out good stories and combating Lively and Leslie Sloan, defending themselves. I mean, they were all playing in the same court, okay? I'm sorry that you lost, Blake. You lost the public opinion. You were doing the same thing, if not worse, to Wayfair and Justin, and you've been doing it. You were undermining him the entire time of set, texting other co-stars, calling them creeps and clowns. I mean, the things that you even put in your own complaint, I'm like, it doesn't make you look good if you were already doing that when you were filming. What were you and Leslie Sloan doing afterwards when your reputation started tanking? Again, you only have one person to blame, two people to blame, and that's yourself and your husband, Ryan Reynolds. Even though we didn't get a second amended complaint from the Wayfair parties yesterday, we did get Leslie Sloan. Oh, girl, I know you ain't trying this, Leslie, and lying, and I'm going to prove it, lying in your complaint. But yes, Leslie Sloan from Vision PR, Blake Lively's PR person, did file a memorandum of law in support of their motion for attorney fees and costs. And right away, let's just go to this paragraph because this is nuts. Making things worse, the Wayfair party's pleading was littered with irrelevant and unfounded allegations meant solely to infame the public and severely harm Miss Sloan's business. For example, the Wayfair parties recklessly alleged that Vision PR Inc. was once backed by Harvey Weinstein, which was at best deliberately misleading. Okay, you weren't backed by Harvey Weinstein? That's very misleading. Let's just see. Now, I already had Leslie Sloan and Stephanie motherfucking Jones clocked. I did a huge series on them back in, I think, even January or maybe early February. And it's not hard to find out that you were backed by freaking Harvey Weinstein. I mean, unless Wayfair can go back and change the internet and turn back time and they have some kind of like time machine, Leslie Sloan. What does this say? September 16th, 2015. This is an article that was put out in 2015. This is from Everything PR News. And what does this say? But when Sloan opened Vision, she received backing from both Hollywood bigwig Harvey Weinstein and James Dolan. Oh, look, here's another one. The Hollywood Reporter. And this was on April 18th, 2014. So no, the Wayfair people didn't just go out and smear you and make up a bunch of lies. Okay, that you weren't back, unless they, again, have a time machine and are able to, plant stories on the internet. I already found these articles a long time ago. Now you're blaming the Wayfair people, but two birds of a feather or whatever that saying is, because y'all are just liars. Liar, 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 liar. It's everybody's fault. It's the Wayfair's fault. It's all blame Wayfair for everything, that you are a horrible person and that you were in cahoots with Harvey Weinstein all the way up until he got locked up. You, Blake, and Ryan Reynolds, okay? So this is in 2014. Harvey Weinstein backing publicist Leslie Sloan's new venture. Let's just see here what Leslie Sloan is trying to say yet again against the Wayfair people. It's always the Wayfair people's fault, even though they started it. Yeah, we already saw the text. We already saw the emails. We already know that you had a truce that you, Leslie Sloan, broke within almost, 9 minutes, I believe? That you were going to the Daily Mail. You had headlines changed. Are you going to try to deny everything that we've already seen? The actual evidence? Oh my gosh. I'm in a mood today, okay? I'm feeling a little bit teed off, you feel? The Wayfair party's claims against the Sloan parties were an ill-advised publicity stunt that had no basis in law or fact. After suffering months of financial crippling and emotionally devastating litigation, the Sloan parties have now been fully vindicated. The court dismissed the claims against them with prejudice and held on no uncertain terms that Sloan did not commit a tort. In addition to the gaping legal deficiencies in the Wayfair party's pleading, discovery has confirmed that their factual allegations against Sloan were complete fabrications. That's not true. After the Wayfarer parties for months wrongfully refused to, in discovery, to identify their source or produce anything to support their allegations, discovery from third parties proved that their main allegations against Miss Sloan, which the Wayfarer parties repeated and sensationalized throughout their court filings, was utterly false. On June 4th, 2025, Daily Mail reporter James Vituska confirmed, contrary to the Wayfarer party's key allegations, that Miss Sloan told them that Blake was sexually assaulted. That Miss Sloan never told Vituska that Miss Lively was sexually harassed or sexually assaulted by Justin Baldoni or anyone else. Vituska also confirmed that the Wayfarer parties did not conduct even a cursory investigation into their claims before recklessly dragging Miss Sloan into this litigation and the surrounding media firestorm that they fueled. By the Wayfarer party's own admission, any claim that Lively was sexually assaulted, in the way their complaints implied, is an unsubstantiated accusation that not even Lively had gone so far to claim. It is simply unbelievable that the Wayfarer party or any counsel that drafted that allegation or signed those pleadings before filing believed in good faith that Miss Sloan indeed made such an accusation. Not her throwing Brian Freeman under the bus. I know that ain't right. Given that the Wayfarer party's claims were utterly baseless, it is clear that they were filed for an ulterior purpose. To distract from their own misconduct and silence Miss Sloan's communications with the press concerning Blake Lively's credible claims of sexual harassment and retaliation. I can't. This is what they're going to try to silence Miss Sloan. That's what she's to silence. We're silencing more women. That's what they always like to use, right? Silencing. Oh my God, such a victim mindset. I can't even. They did all of this just to silence you, Leslie Sloan. Please. And we continue. To distract from their own misconduct and silence Miss Sloan's communications with the press concerning Blake Lively's credible claims of sexual harassment and retaliation by subjecting Miss Sloan to costly litigation and attempting to ruin her reputation through false and defamatory accusations masked as legitimate court filings. This is therefore exactly the type of strategic lawsuit against public participation in New York's anti-SLAPP statute is meant to address. Through its 2020 amendments to New York's anti-SLAPP statute, the New York legislature made its purpose clear: to provide robust protections for the free speech rights of New Yorkers by ensuring that if a plaintiff commences or continues a suit against them that lacks a substantial basis and target their lawful First Amendment expression, that plaintiff will have to foot the bill. The Sloan parties respectfully submit that New York's anti-SLAPP statute applies and is satisfied here, and accordingly request that the court hold that the Sloan parties are entitled to recover the reasonable attorney fees and costs that they incurred defending against the Wayfarer party's baseless claims. In the alternative, the Sloan parties respectfully request that the court award them their reasonable attorney fees and costs pursuant to the court's inherent powers. Like, I already told you all, every time I read something from Leslie Sloan and Stephanie Jones, I get like the craziest ick, because y'all know how I feel about these women. They started this whole thing. The Wayfarer parties filed a baseless lawsuit and launched a defamatory media campaign against the Sloan parties. On January 16th, 2025, the Wayfarer parties sued the Sloan parties in a misguided attempt to salvage Justin Baldoni's reputation after it was exposed that he is a sexual harasser who deliberately retaliated against his victim, Blake Lively. In fact, after Miss Lively bravely spoke out against Justin Baldoni's sexual misconduct, Baldoni went so far as to hire a crisis PR manager to bury Miss Lively and destroy her life. It's infuriating me that they keep going back to this, because she never spoke up about it. She filed a CRD complaint. Then they started an investigation. Then she refused to participate in the investigation. She never spoke up about it. She never did the entire press tour, anything. Nada. Zilch. Okay, it's so crazy. I can't believe that they just called him a sexual harasser. It hasn't been proven. In fact, Blake Lively just withdrew her 10th and 11th claims. Okay. Rather than take responsibility for their egregious actions, the Wayfair parties attempted to distract from their own misconduct by peddling a false story about Miss Sloan. Specifically, the Wayfair parties sued the Sloan parties for extortion, defamation, and false light based on the now debunked accusation that she helped orchestrate a smear campaign against Baldoni, when in reality it was the Wayfair parties who were weaponizing the internet and media to destroy Miss Lively's life. The Wayfair parties never had a good faith basis for their invented storyline. Even by their own allegations, all Miss Sloan did was respond to a press inquiry about a story that Baldoni's team planted. As shown in their own submission, by August 4th, 2024, Baldoni's publicist Jennifer Abel wrote that she wanted to plant pieces this week of how horrible Blake is to work with. Melissa Nathan responded that she had already off the record spoke to the editor of the Daily Mail. Ms. Sloan did not speak to the press until 4 days later on August 8th, 2024, when she responded to a Daily Mail reporter's inquiry. Similarly, the thrust of the Wayfair party's claims against Ms. Sloan is that she allegedly told Daily Mail reporter James Vitkusta that Blake was sexually assaulted. But the Wayfair party's own pleading indicate that sexual assault were Vindication's chosen words. The amended complaint did not, because it could not allege what specific words Ms. Sloan may have said. Instead, it merely included a screenshot of an undated text message between Vitkusta and Melissa Nathan, which were purportedly exchanged following the release of Lively's administrative complaint on December 20th. In the text, Vitkusta, not Ms. Sloan, writes, "Now she's saying that Blake Lively was sexually assaulted." The Wayfair parties knew, or at minimum should have known, that sexually assaulted was Vitkusta's own characterizations of details included in Lively's CRD complaint, and not any words Miss Sloan even uttered. Indeed, the screenshot embeds an image of Vitkusta's August 8th, 2024 conversation with Miss Sloan, which includes no allegations by Miss Sloan of SA. And Vitkusta then expressly states that Miss Sloan never mentioned any allegations of SA. Further, the Wayfair parties' complaint in their prior action against the New York Times included screenshots of another text exchange where Vitkusta expressly told Melissa Nathan and Brian Freeman that he had many conversations with Miss Sloan about Blake, and never once did she say anything about SH. As discussed further below, during this litigation, Vitkusta has yet again confirmed that Miss Sloan never accused Baldoni of sexual assault. Even taken as true, however, the Wayfair parties' claims were fundamentally defective. Among other deficiencies, the Wayfair parties failed to plead the essential elements of any claim asserted, and failed to comply with the basic requirements of identifying or describing the statements they allege are defamatory. Making things worse, the Wayfair party's pleadings was littered with irrelevant and unfounded allegations meant solely to inflame the public and severely harm Miss Sloan's business. For example, the Wayfair parties recklessly alleged that Vision PR Inc. was once backed by Harvey Weinstein, which was, at best, deliberately misleading. The Sloan parties have never represented Weinstein, and the stories that the Wayfair parties have apparently planted, claiming that Miss Sloan worked with Weinstein to silence victims, are utterly baseless. Again, silencing victims. Silence. Give me a break. To compound the damage to the Sloan parties, the Wayfair parties and their counsel launched a defamatory media campaign in connection with their lawsuit. For example, the Wayfair parties' counsel, Brian Freeman, stated to the New York Times, "It was also discovered that Miss Lively enlisted her own representative, Leslie Sloan, with Vision PR to plant negative and completely fabricated and false stories with media even prior to any marketing had commenced for the film," which was another reason why Wayfair Studios made the decision to hire a crisis professional to commence internal scenario planning. Mr. Freeman had no basis whatsoever for this highly damaging and demonstrably false accusation. He has spread similar lies in a variety of other outlets and platforms as well. Being wrongfully dragged into this litigation caused the Sloan party serious reputational and economic injuries and caused Miss Sloan severe emotional distress. Because of the Wayfair party's deliberate efforts to mislead and inflame the public, Miss Sloan continues to receive an onslaught of public ridicule and intimidating messages. Good. How do you think the Wayfair people feel being called a sexual harasser, a sexual predator, losing everything, all of this because Blake didn't get her way? How do you think they feel? And you are so far in this, Leslie Sloan, because hello, Stephanie motherfucking Jones gave you Jennifer Abel's text messages the day she got the phone because you called Melissa Nathan and said, get ready to be sued. And then she goes in and talks a little bit about how the Wayfarer people should have known a long time ago that their claims were baseless and they should have withdrew them, but they didn't. Therefore, it cost her even more. And that they said that an amended complaint was coming because they got even more evidence, which obviously she's saying now they were lying. They are also saying that the record confirms that the Wayfarer party's claims are baseless. The Wayfarer party's sheer inability to support their claims in discovery confirmed that, as the Sloan parties argued all along, the Wayfarer party's allegations against them were flat out lies. For instance, there was never a shred of evidence produced in this case connecting Miss Sloan or her company to the New York Times article. Nor could there be, since, as repeatedly explained, Miss Sloan had zero involvement in its publication. I cannot wait to hear from Megan Twohey from the New York Times when she gets deposed because she is on the list for the Wayfarer people. She goes in to then say that the only two reporters that she talked to was one of them was from Sarah Nathan from the New York Post, which is Melissa Nathan's sister, and that actually Melissa Nathan reached out to her first and not the other way around, and that she has text to prove that actually she wasn't going to Sarah Nathan was going to her. The first time Miss Sloan discussed the sexual harassment allegations with the journalist was when Sarah Nathan told Miss Sloan about what she heard. Even though Sarah Nathan informed Miss Sloan of the underlying conduct, not the other way around, Sarah Nathan's sister, Melissa Nathan, has twisted those conversations to brazenly accuse Miss Sloan of planting stories about Baldoni, all while knowing the exact opposite occurred. As to the second journalist discovery revealed the purportedly unknown Daily Mail journalist to be James Vituska, critically on June 4th, 2025, James Vituska submitted a declaration confirming that contrary to the Wayfarer party's allegations that Miss Sloan told Vituska that Miss Lively was sexually assaulted, Miss Sloan never told him that Miss Lively was sexually harassed or sexually assaulted by Justin Baldoni or anyone else. Rather, Vituska mistakenly used the phrase on his own accord and only in reference to Miss Lively's CRD complaint, not in reference to any conversation he had with Miss Sloan. Why do I not believe this to be true? I don't know. Shockingly, Vituska also testified that the Wayfarer parties did not bother to investigate or confirm that what Vituska meant by his use of the phrase sexually assaulted before they wrongfully attributed those words to Miss Sloan and filed their complaint against her. Vituska had therefore confirmed that Miss Sloan never accused Baldoni of sexual assault, a fact that the Wayfarer parties knew or should have known well before they filed this lawsuit, and certainly before it was dismissed nearly 6 months later on June 9th, 2025. Then they go into the anti-SLAPP law and why that applies here and why she should get all of her attorney fees. When I read things like this, it just really makes me even more upset that the case was dismissed against all of these people because, I mean, they had so many facts and so much evidence to prove that these people were doing monstrous things and were really the ones against Wayfarer and taking control of their movie and doing the exact same things that this is a repeated behavior for these people, right? And now that that is dismissed, like they can use this, like she's using it here, you know, the Wayfarer party's claims lack a substantial basis in law and fact. And it just says, you know, because it was dismissed without a leave to amend, you know, that she should get all of her attorney fees. She just keeps going on and on and on about this James Vituska guy, whatever, okay? And that how the case was dismissed, therefore it was baseless. That's not even what the judge came back and said. They just didn't do it right, like whatever. And how much is she asking for? $1.3 million and then $38,000 in costs. Yeah, 1.3 million. You know, just a little milli here or there. I was shocked reading Leslie Sloan's memorandum, for sure, because it's filled with a lot of lies, and she's only basing it off this one James Vituska, as well as Sarah Nathan. But we know that she spoke to so many other people. She does PR for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. How many stories came out that were anti-Justin? That were like, he fat shamed her, he did this, he did that, the cast hate Justin, da da da. Where did those come from? You think those stories came from the Wayfarer people? Or you think they were countering all of the stories that you were planting, Leslie Sloan? Yeah, I'll wait. I just feel a little deflated today, honestly, if I'm being real, after not getting an amended complaint by the Wayfarer people. I hope they're not giving up. I am trusting that Brian Freeman, as well as the Wayfarer parties, are doing what's best for them, are doing what's best for all of the parties involved, and they have a plan. Maybe the plan all along since, Ryan Reynolds was so up in arms saying Steve Soret said he wants to spend $1 million to ruin our lives. Maybe their plan was to just get all of the information out there, see what happens. Now we all know we wouldn't have before, and now they are just going to sit back and defend themselves against these absolute baseless, frivolous claims that are completely made up by Blake Lively. I just want Justin and the Wayfair people, all of the parties involved, to know that we're here for them. We're still fighting. They're in our prayers. And we know for sure that good and light is going to prevail over these dark, dark, dark souls that we have in the opposing corner, being Snake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, okay? And now I do want to talk briefly about the video I made yesterday. It has garnered a lot of different responses, which I figured it would. And I just want to be extremely clear that, for one, I am not defending Blake Lively. And for two, I do not believe anything that she has said. However, in order to get into the mind of the psychopath sometimes, who is Blake Lively, you kind of have to think like her. And what she wanted to do with Megan Twohey was get her to believe her. So how do you do that? I mean, Blake Lively has to fully believe and convince other people that this happened. And how do you do that? Well, you talk to the woman who created the Me Too, all of that stuff in the New York Times, and you're like, if you're reading it and you don't think it's that bad, I've been through worse. I've been in Hollywood, but I did address it. And, I was just trying to see a different perspective and get into the mind of a psychopath. And as a woman who has been through many ranges of violations, really, you do use words like that. For me, it wasn't like a smoking gun that a lot of people ran with it, because she does say it's not that bad. I reported it. I wasn't going to go public, but then the smear campaign happened. And that's kind of like the exact same approach that she's still taking today, that the smear campaign is still going on because she reported harassment, which is like, we all know, right? We all know what it is. But I was just trying to give an example or a perspective that she could use when they ask her about this, or if they do ask her about this, what she can use when she said to Megan Twohey, it wasn't really that bad. I've been through worse. I did report it and I thought it was, over with. She could use that she's been through worse. That's all I was trying to do, was give a fresh new perspective and get into the mind of Blake Lively. And for her to have gone this far with the claims, I mean, she has to be believable, right? Like, she needed Megan Twohey to really believe her and buy into everything that she was saying. But what I do want to say about that NPR thing is, even though I said it in my video already, I feel like it was kind of overshadowed, because I think a lot of people were thinking that I was defending and believing Blake, which, nah. Okay. It doesn't look good that she was speaking with her, and I'm sure the Wayfair people and Brian Freeman are going to have a ton of questions as to what the conversation was, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and what was said. It's not a good thing, but I don't think it doesn't disprove Blake's claims like a lot of people thought it would. Just in my opinion and my perspective. That's it. Not defending Blake. I think that Blake came into the movie with already severe emotional problems. I think that is clear by her even texting the Wayfair parties, texting production, trying to ask to move scenes and trying to get, anything physical or any scenes pushed because she didn't feel like she was in shape. Meanwhile, her husband's, across the ocean filming a movie with a stand-in lady pool who she wanted to be. I think she was already spiraling. I think there was a lot of things that went wrong. I think Blake expects to be treated like a queen and everyone bow at her feet, and she wants men to grovel for her. And when Justin Baldoni wasn't doing that, then she was hurt even more. I think that as soon as she was told no, she really thought that she was going to come in and take over this production like she has in the past on Age of Madeline, like her husband has done before. And when she was first told no, that she couldn't see the dailies, that's when she set this plan into motion, that she was going to get this movie and take over the rights of the movie. I'm just saying, in that one interview, she needed to be believable, and that's what you do with pain and trauma, is you minimize it, or you just put it, you just scale it. But I think Blake Lively is a freaking liar. I think this is all about ego. I think this is all about her reputation. I think she couldn't fathom that people didn't like her, and they already didn't like her previously. As soon as she was cast the smear campaign started. The smear campaign. And that wasn't done by the Wayfair people. That's been going on since the first time we saw her outfits. Since the first time she spoke at any PR event for Ends With Us, any time. It's been happening. The Wayfair people didn't do it, and they're not doing it now. Blake Lively, you just really need to go out and touch grass and really see a therapist. Clearly you haven't been because you don't want to show doctor's notes. Or you have been and you just can't fix what's going on inside your head because you are a monster. I mean, I have no other words but a very bitter, delusional sociopath and a narcissist who believes that you are queen of the world when really, no, no, not even. So I don't know. Anyway, that's it for me today. I hope I kind of cleared some things up. Like, I'm not switching sides. I'm not defending Blake. I don't believe her, but she needed to believe it herself and get other people to believe it, right? And yeah, anyway, I just wanted to clear that up, and I hope I did, because I don't want to make anyone feel like angry or whatever, write big, massive paragraphs against what I said. Like, I don't want to invoke those kind of feelings. However, I do think it's good, like, when you do watch videos, if it does make you think and it does make you question things. And, I like, as much as there's so much hate towards Blake and Ryan, I really try to look at it inside of their minds and try to figure out why they've done this and how they've been able to do it. And yeah, try to see it from all perspectives and angles, even though I don't believe a sheer word that they say or do. I think they're honestly very power hungry monsters, like monster. I think so. But yeah, only time will tell. There's still nothing in the court dockets for an amended complaint. Waiting on a response maybe from Wayfair. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm going to go enjoy my day. It's like my last day off today. Yeah, it's still a huge heat wave here. But today's not as bad as yesterday was. Yesterday was wild. And yeah, I just finished doing an audition, so that's why I had to wash my hair, slap on a little makeup, do a little commercial audition. And now I'm just going to go into editing and tonight work on my script. And that's it. Those are my big plans. I'm really excited. I'm getting so excited right now because next Thursday I get to see my mom. I haven't seen my mom since last summer. Oh, but the flight's booked. The time off has been approved. I get to go away for a whole week with my mom. And I am so excited to hug my mom, guys, and see my mom. Like, I've been through so much in the past year, and I haven't been able to see her or hug her or love her. And even though we talk like multiple times a day, I'm harass my mom like every little thing, like, yo, what's up? But now I get to see her face to face and I can't wait. So if I seem a little bit more giddy and excited in the next, week, that's definitely why, because I have this big thing happening and I am just so excited. Oh my gosh, I'm just so excited. So I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my day. I hope you are too. And yeah, whatever dreams you're chasing today, I hope you catch them, and I hope they love you right back. Okay, I love you. Thank you so much, and I hope you're having a good day. Please drop your comments, and yeah, forgive me if you think I misspoke or anything yesterday or was on Team Lively or I've been swayed in any way. No, definitely not. I am here all the way for Justin Baldoni and for all of the Wayfair parties until I see some hard evidence that prove otherwise, but until now, I just don't. And at this point, I cannot take the lying, the gaslighting, or the manipulation anymore. I'm going to be real honest about that. They wanted gloves to come off, and now maybe they just will. So anyway, talk to you soon. Bye.